Let's go Rams! I don't know if you've noticed, but the days are flying by. In 8 weeks, the Los Angeles Rams will be taking the field against the 49ers. But until that day arrives, other matters need to be settled soon, including the situation with Aaron Donald. Today I'm going to share what a prominent journalist revealed about this, and man, I have to admit, I believe he could return at any moment. I also need to cover another important topic involving the Rams, and I'll tell you all about it right now. But before we go on, make sure you've hit that like button. Only do it, though, if you believe Sean McVay was the best head coach hire of the last few decades. If possible, write this: Go Rams! On to the Super Bowl. Aaron Donald's name is once again at the center of every conversation about the Los Angeles Rams, and the latest update has given fans another reason to believe something might actually happen. According to the latest report from NFL insider Ian Rappaport, the possibility of a Donald comeback remains very much alive. While there is no official confirmation yet, the idea is no longer one that can simply be dismissed. On the contrary, the topic is gaining more and more attention as new updates emerge, and every new piece of news seems to push the discussion a little further forward. For Rams fans, this has become one of the main storylines of the offseason. Every few days, a new piece of information, a new report, or a new comment pops up to keep the conversation going. Instead of losing steam, the speculation keeps growing. That in itself generates excitement because the possibility of seeing one of the greatest defensive players in franchise history wearing Rams colors again naturally captures everyone's imagination. Honestly, I believe that if Aaron Donald had no interest in playing again, he would speak openly and make that clear. All this suspense from both sides only makes me believe he'll come back and help us win another Super Bowl. According to Ian Rappaport, a key point is that this remains a real possibility. He explained that even Aaron Donald himself might not yet know what his final decision will be. This detail is important because it suggests the situation is still evolving. It isn't a case where everything has already been decided behind closed doors. On the contrary, Donald seems to be weighing whether a return makes sense, and that process is still underway. Another interesting part of the report involves the timeline. Rather than expecting Donald to return immediately, the expectation mentioned is that, if it happens, it would likely be toward the end of training camp or even after the season has already begun. Ian Rappaport later expanded on that discussion during an appearance on the Pat McAfee show, where he said his personal guess would be that Aaron Donald returns sometime in the middle of Rams training camp. For Rams fans, that timing actually makes a lot of sense based on everything discussed. A player who has spent time away from NFL competition is not necessarily expected to jump directly into a full workload. Instead, easing into football activities before gradually increasing responsibilities would be the logical path. That approach would allow Donald to prepare himself while giving the coaching staff time to determine exactly how he could fit into the defense if he ultimately decides to return. Another major point raised during the discussion involves Donald's potential role. The expectation is not that he would immediately return to playing every defensive snap. Instead, the report suggests he could be used in a more specialized role. Rather than playing 50 or 60 snaps every game, he could instead play roughly 20 to 30 extremely meaningful snaps. Those would likely come during the biggest moments when his impact could completely change a game. That idea reflects both reality and strategy. Aaron Donald has already accomplished everything an NFL player could dream of accomplishing. Managing his workload carefully would allow him to stay fresh while maximizing the impact of every snap he plays. Instead of asking him to carry an entire defensive line by himself, the defense could use him at the moments where his experience, power, and football intelligence matter the most. The report also discussed Donald's physical condition. Anyone who follows him on social media already knows he continues to train at an incredibly high level. His workout videos regularly show just how committed he remains to staying in outstanding shape. His strength and conditioning have clearly not disappeared simply because he stepped away from football. At the same time, the discussion pointed out an important distinction. Being in elite physical shape and being in NFL football shape are not necessarily the same thing. Weight training, conditioning, and personal workouts are impressive, but preparing for the physical demands of NFL games requires a different type of preparation. The speed, contact, repetition, and intensity of professional football create unique demands that cannot be perfectly replicated outside of an NFL environment. Because of that, the expectation is that Donald would gradually transition back into football-specific training if he chooses to return, whether that happens during training camp or independently beforehand. The focus would be on preparing his body for the unique demands of NFL competition rather than simply maintaining general fitness. Another interesting point raised is what that gradual process could eventually lead to later in the season. While a limited role might make sense initially, there is also the possibility that Donald's workload could increase as the season progresses. If everything went well and he successfully worked himself back into football condition, he could potentially play a much larger role during the games that matter most. That naturally leads to the discussion about the playoffs. The belief expressed during the report is that if Aaron Donald returns and performs anywhere close to the level he previously showed, the Rams would almost certainly want him on the field during the biggest postseason moments. Experience, leadership, and game-changing ability become even more valuable when every possession can determine a championship run. The discussion also reflected the high expectations surrounding the current Rams roster. Rather than simply hoping to be competitive, the expectations described are significantly higher. The belief presented is that the roster has been built with championship aspirations in mind. When expectations reach that level, every roster move becomes more meaningful, and adding a player with Donald's resume naturally becomes one of the biggest stories imaginable. Beyond the Aaron Donald discussion, another topic from the report shifted attention toward the culture surrounding the Rams organization. That conversation came after watching the latest season of Netflix's quarterback series, where Baker Mayfield reflects on different parts of his NFL journey. One of the biggest themes highlighted was the positive impact that Sean McVay had on Baker Mayfield during his brief time with the Rams. According to the discussion, even though Mayfield only spent about a month with the organization, that short experience appeared to have left a lasting impression on him. That observation says a great deal about how the Rams are viewed internally. Building a strong culture is often discussed in sports, but hearing former players reflect positively on their experiences carries additional weight. When someone who experienced multiple stops throughout his NFL career points to a short period with one organization as meaningful, it naturally attracts attention. The conversation suggests that Sean McVay deserves significant credit for creating that environment. Since becoming the Rams' head coach, he has consistently been recognized for his ability to connect with players while maintaining high standards across the organization. That combination appears to leave a lasting impact on many who spend time within the building. Another point raised during the discussion is how those stories may influence future free agents. Players around the league pay attention to how organizations treat their athletes. Hearing positive experiences shared publicly can only strengthen a team's reputation. While contracts and opportunities always matter, organizational culture has become an increasingly important factor when players make career decisions. The report then turned to fan polls conducted through the community section of the channel. Thousands of Rams fans participated, providing an interesting snapshot of how supporters currently view the team heading into the upcoming season. The first poll focused on which opponent fans believe will present the toughest challenge. According to the results shared, the Seattle Seahawks received an overwhelming majority of the votes. More than 70% of respondents selected Seattle as the Rams' biggest obstacle among the listed choices. Those results demonstrate the respect Rams fans have for a familiar division rival. Games inside the NFC West are rarely easy, and supporters clearly believe Seattle remains one of the most significant challenges on the schedule. The second poll centered on projected sack production from Myles Garrett. Fans were asked whether he would finish above or below 16 sacks, and the overwhelming majority selected the higher total. The discussion highlighted just how much confidence supporters have in his ability to continue producing at an elite level. Throughout the entire conversation, one theme remained consistent. Every new report surrounding Aaron Donald seems to increase the excitement surrounding the possibility of his return. While nothing official has happened yet, the updates continue moving in a direction that keeps hope alive. Ian Rappaport's comments did not guarantee anything, but they reinforced the idea that this remains an active possibility rather than simple off-season speculation. For Rams fans, patience now becomes the biggest challenge. Training camp continues to approach, and every passing day brings another opportunity for new developments. Whether Donald ultimately decides to return or not, the story has already become one of the defining conversations surrounding the team. Until an official announcement is made, every update will continue to be analyzed, every report will spark new debate, and every appearance by a respected NFL insider will generate another wave of excitement throughout the Rams community. That is simply the reality whenever one of the greatest defensive players in franchise history is connected to a possible comeback. Now the waiting continues. The timeline mentioned points toward training camp as the period to watch most closely, and that means Rams fans may not have to wait much longer before learning how this story ends. If the reports prove accurate, one of the biggest returns in recent franchise history could soon become reality. Until then, every new piece of information will only add to the anticipation surrounding Aaron Donald and the possibility of seeing him back on the field once again. What do you think, Rams fans? After hearing these latest updates, do you believe Aaron Donald will return? And if he does, how big of an impact do you think he could make for the Rams?